Hey there everybody, Coach Brandon here again with another important guard retention concept. And that is the idea of denying your opponent head control, or what John Danaher in his guard retention DVD calls the cranial shift. Understand that when your opponent is passing guard, or anytime a guard passer is passing guard, ultimately their goal is to get control of the guard player's head. This will typically be with a crossface. Sometimes it'll be with a reverse crossface, but either way, they need to climb the body until they control the head. That's the prize. That is the objective of passing guard, is to get to and control the head and getting chest to chest. So if Sam, go on your back if you would. That's how you face your head toward the camera. Perfect. So typically when somebody goes to pass guard, they'll have either two grips on the lower body, or in some cases, one grip on the upper body and one grip on the lower body. It is incredibly rare to see passes with two grips on the upper body. I almost never see anyone who's good do this, or to anybody good. I never see this work on anybody good. So you're always going to want to have two grips on the lower body, or one upper body and one lower body in some way, okay? When I use my grips and I pass, I have grips on the lower body. I need to make a transfer from the leg, the lower body, to the head. This is a fundamental truth of pretty much all guard passes out there. Eventually, the guard passer needs to shift from one form of grip, typically on the lower body, to the head. And that is going to be a window of opportunity that can't really be closed. So if you understand that from the bottom person's perspective, you can look for your opponent to make this critical shift up to the head, and you can take advantage of it, okay? Sam, if you could work on passing my guard here now. So first we're going to look at a bicep tie, which is basically a hand frame. I'm going to frame right here in the bicep. But then we're going to get to a second form of denying the cranial shift. One that I like even better, and that's this cuff grip. They're both good. They're both good, but I like this one quite a bit. So I'm in guard. I don't have 4 points of connection, so I'm in a defensive cycle. Sammy quickly hits a Toriando, and I frame here right in the bicep. Now when Sammy goes to grab my head, even if she can get down chest to chest, she can't really solidify her control in a meaningful way. I'm gonna, Sammy, try to hold me down here, underhook. So with this control, and with denying her head control, when she goes to get chest to chest, I can almost always keep that arm away, prop up, and recover my guard. I can do so by either turning into her, or I can switch hands, and I can turn away from her. These are both great ways to use that thumb post in the bicep as a way to deny the cranial shift, deny exposing your head to your opponent, and recover guard. One more time, Sammy. So again, posting, she comes down to control my head if she can't, and now I can use this as an opportunity to either deny chest exposure, like we talked about in our previous video, or if she does get down chest to chest, I can use this so that her position is very weak. If she tries to hold me and stop me from getting back up at this point, it's going to be very tough if she can't control my head. Let's look at another form of head control. So we saw posting in the bicep. Another form of denying the cranial shift, or denying head control to your opponent, is with a straight cuff grip. So in a scenario where I see Sammy takes two grips on my pants, typically a great way to operate is to grab double cuff grips. So now it doesn't matter which way she passes, I have grips on both sides. She goes to pass my guard, and I just keep my arm locked out, just like when we use hand frames. Now when Sammy drops down and tries to get side control and tries to hold me off, it's going to be so hard for her to hold me down because she can't anchor herself to my head. And as a result, I'm going to be able to prop up with my free arm, turn and face her, and then once again establish 4 points of connection and use that to go into offensive cycles. I used this grip in a match of mine that I had against Max Jimenez last fall, where he was able to get down and get chest to chest, but he spent about a minute there and he was never able to solidify control. Eventually he had to try something else that created space, and I got back to guard. So once again, Sammy up. So again, here I see Sammy takes Toriano grips, for instance, and it doesn't have to be Toriano, it's any guard pass, really. As long as I can grab whatever side, the arm of whatever side she's trying to pass to, she won't be able to control my head. If she's passing to this side, stop right here, it's this arm that's going to come to control my head. Okay. There is Keisugatami where she can control my head with this arm, but you don't see it a whole lot in high-level competition. Almost everybody's going to try to control your head with this arm. So whatever side she's passing to, I want to control that same side sleeve. Okay, so back in front of me. So Sammy's right here, she gets my pants, she goes to make a maneuver. I grab that cuff, and I just lock my arm out. Now when Sammy drops down to get chest to chest, it's so easy for me to prop up to my hand, scoop my hips back, and now once again, I go in and establish my 4 points of connection, and now I can start to go into my attacks. Okay, so if you guys have been following along with the classes now, you have 4 extremely strong concepts for guard retention. You have the notion of offensive and defensive cycles. You have to understand that sometimes you can be offensive, but then sometimes there's a time to be defensive. And that time is when your opponent gets to the encroachment or encroaches on your sideline and hip line. We looked at the notion of framing. We looked at hand frames, elbow frames, backhand frames. When your opponent does get to the pocket of your hip and puts you into a defensive cycle, you best be framing. Ideally at arm's length with hand frames. If they get too close, we move to elbow frames. If they get closer yet, we go to backhand frames. Along with that, if you can't keep track of all these different pieces of information, concept number 3, deny chest exposure. Just keep some part of your body between your opponent's chest and your chest. If you can do that at all times, you'll be fine. And then the 4th concept was, as your opponent goes to pass your guard, understand that there's going to be a moment when they're going to release whatever grip they have initially and move to your head. And that moment is a big weakness of any guard pass out there. That moment when they release the lower body and come up to control the head and control the upper body. If I can stop my opponent from making that shift from my lower body up to either a crossface or a reverse crossface, it's going to be very difficult for them to retain control of the pass, even if they do get down chest to chest. And it usually results in a pretty easy escape back to guard for you. Okay? So offensive and defensive cycles, denying chest exposure, understand and use those frames, and never let your opponent control your head. I'm sorry I did those out of order, I'll say this again. Offensive and defensive cycles, make sure you're using frames, understand what they are, know how and when to use them. Don't expose your chest to your opponent's chest. Always keep something in between yours and theirs. And never let them control your head. Alright guys, I hope these guard passing concepts help to make a difference, that when you guys come back to the mat, even if you don't remember a bunch of specific techniques, hopefully you can take these 4 simple ideas and apply them to your game and get very, very good at guard retention without actually being in the gym to train it and doing it very quickly. Alright, thanks guys.